I'm Heather Campbell. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you a fantastic project we've got to create a digital window into our Yourka Reserve, which is in the far north of Queensland, a magical place full of wonders, beauty, and fantastic species. I'm coming to you from Wurundjeri country today, from the Kulin Nation on the edge of Melbourne in the southern part of Australia. And I'd invite you now to close your eyes and imagine you're in the Australian bush with the sounds, the smell of the eucalypts, with the thump of kangaroos in the background, or looking up and seeing a koala. And this is the land that I'm really lucky to call home. And I'd like to pay my respects to the First Nations people, the Wurundjeri people, that have helped look after this land for 60,000 years, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. In Bush Heritage Australia, our vision is healthy country protected forever. We want to be able to see and feel and touch all of those amazing species that we have, all the plants and the animals that make Australia so special. So we look after more than 6,700 native species, unfortunately many of which are critically endangered or threatened. And we do this across our 42 reserves, the 1.2 million of hectares of land that we own and manage, and also working with First Nations, Aboriginal people, and with farmers across the land that they manage. And when we look at Australia, it's a very big country, and we've focused on priority landscapes that are underrepresented in our national parks and where we feel our skills can make a real difference. And if you look towards the top of that map, you will see the area of where we've said that it's going to be relatively resilient in times of climate change. But we know there's more that we need to do in order to manage it, to help protect it for all of our native species. And that's why we've focused on this particular project in what we call the Ironsley Uplands, or that area up towards Cape York, and it's shown in the green map there. So the reasons for focusing on Yourka, it's a magical part. It is endurable and Wurundjeri country. It's their people that have looked after it for 60,000 years. It is a biodiversity hotspot. It has got ironbark forests and lemon-scented gums and many species that call it home, but is under threat. And I'd like to take you into that landscape. So imagine you're actually sitting there amongst these trees. So close your eyes for a minute and then think about the species that are there. The lace monitor or large lizard as it climbs up the tree. Or if you look up towards the rocky outcrop and you see a Mariba rock wallaby that is threatened and with its little joey in its pouch, and at night you're hearing the quolls as they scurry through the bush. And then you open your eyes and you look down the track and you see an emu. You see a dad with its chicks. This is the magic that we are trying to protect and restore for all of these native species and for us as human beings, so that we can all connect into this land, see the magic of it, feel it, and recognize the importance of it to all of us. So we do have quite a few challenges ahead. It is a land which is subject to wildfires. There's lots of lightning strikes in summer, so it's important with how we manage it for conservation, how we utilize fire in a culturally appropriate way to help us manage our weeds. And we have lots and lots of data from the work that we do on fire management, from the sound meters we use to collect bird calls, from the camera traps that are collecting visions of things like Mariba rock wallabies and the other mammal species. There is lots and lots of data. And so there's been a lot of work done in Australia bringing together national databases and platforms that try and merge and integrate all of the data that's available, whether that be geological features, such as the terrain where species can find refuge as it heats up, the likely climate impacts, the biological information, so species occurrence and abundance, and the ecological data, in other words, the extent of the ecology and the different systems in the landscape, the climate data, the rainfall, the soil moisture, the temperature, the land use areas, as well as then culturally significant sites. And a lot of this data is being done at a very high level, and we're now at a point where we really need to be able to integrate these data sets with all of this data that we are collecting on the ground. But it's not easy, and our team can spend many, many hours trying to collate all of this data, which comes in different formats and forms and different scales and different methodologies. We need to be able to develop a system that can integrate this quickly and seamlessly, so that our people can spend more time actually out on the land doing the work that needs to be done. So our achievements to date, well, we're an active land manager. We have our people out there managing for fire, both utilising it in a way to actually manage weeds and other pests, and then also managing to prevent wildfires. And this was a reserve that was heavily impacted during the Black Summer bushfires. We need to manage feral animals, whether they be pigs in the waterholes, and we need to manage the weeds. And this area of Queensland with high rainfall has lots of issues with introduced plant species, which we really need to get under control. We are actively managing over 300 plant species, 140 bird species, and many, many native animals. But we know that we have to do more. And what we want to do is actually provide our people with the right tools so they can actually see their actions on the ground and continue to be spending their time having the biggest impact for all species. So the challenges ahead of us, well, there's land clearing in this area. There, as I said, is the introduced weeds and feral animals. But a key thing is the fact that we have all of these different data sets, and we have the knowledge of First Nations people, which is often captured in song, in poem, in oral form. And how do we appropriately incorporate that knowledge in a way that respects the desires of First Nations people for what they want to share and what they need to keep private for their culture and for their nation? We need to include the climate change information. But as I was saying, a whole lot of this data is in different formats. It's everywhere from satellite down to detailed on-ground data. We need to find a way to easily integrate this so we can replicate that process around the country. Only through doing that will we have the tools that we need to then be able to effectively manage this land. So our future, our vision, what we're looking for is we're looking for healthy landscape where all species are thriving, including human beings. We've had some early wins in the landscape, and I'd now just like to take you to another part of Australia where we've been working and just share an example of those wins and how we would want to take it to a bigger scale. So in our southwest West Australian properties, so the other side of Australia, we've had this area where we've restored, we've connected up the landscape, we've managed the weeds, we've managed the feral animals, we've restored, we've planted trees 10 years ago in an understory, and now we have malleefowl, which is an amazing bird that's built these huge nests. We have little honey possums that only live there, and little pygmy possums. You can hold them in the palm of your hand. Just imagine holding a little tiny possum in the palm of your hand. We know we've got the habitat right because these species are coming back. They're connecting across the landscape. And that's what we want to do across all the landscapes in which we operate. But in order to do that, we need all of the data sets that we can to be able to pull this together. So what are we looking for? We've started the journey, but we need more. We need systems architects and engagement officers and data cleansers, and we need all of those technical skills coming together. So we're looking for $400,000 US with initial project focused on Yourka. But the idea is to roll this methodology out through all of the properties that we own and manage. And how are we going to make sure that we've actually achieved what we set out to do? So this will be through the conservation management process, which is how we look at managing the land and checking that we've actually made the difference that we planned to make. And so we do these regular scorecards on our reserves to check what is the impact that we've had. Are we having the positive impact? How do we need to pivot and change and adapt our process? And so we'll be locking in this as we implement these new systems, these new data sets, this new way of looking at things. So if you'd like to be part of this project, we'd love to have you on board. So please make contact with me. Please come down if you ever are in Australia and enjoy these amazing species. Thank you for your time today. It is really appreciated.